The Extraordinary Life Story of Albert Einstein, read and published by Mr. Books. The name Einstein carries resonance far beyond the bounds of scientific discourse. It evokes images of genius undone by shaggy hair, chalk-stained blackboards scrawled with cryptic equations, and an unyielding quest to unravel the greatest mysteries of the universe. Yet, beneath the iconic visage and intellectual bravado, lies a man whose story transcends scientific achievement, a tale marked by struggle, heartache, persistence, and a ceaseless curiosity about the world and our place within it. Einstein, unraveling the universe, seeks to explore, with empathy and detail, not merely the external accomplishments of Albert Einstein, but the intricate journey of his inner world, from his formative days as a curious child in the quaint streets of Ulm and Munich to his solitary yearnings under the harsh scrutiny of rigid educational systems. Einstein's path was never linear nor easily won. He questioned not only the established truths of physics, but also the very paradigms by which society functions, a rebel with a cause, both in science and in life. This narrative traces the major historical events that shaped Einstein's worldview, from the German-speaking heartlands of Europe to the bustling intellectual salons of Zurich and Berlin, culminating in his bittersweet exile in America. His was a time of tumult, marked by 2 world wars, seismic shifts in political power, and the dramatic evolution of scientific thought. As a Jew in early 20th century Europe, his personal journey was inextricably entwined with some of the most painful upheavals of modern history. These experiences pushed him not only to the frontiers of science, but also to the front lines of humanitarian advocacy and ethical reflection. Each section of this book delves into a unique period of Einstein's life, painting not merely the portrait of a scientific pioneer, but of a man profoundly attuned to the suffering, challenges, and hopes of humanity. Through a blend of meticulous research and touching narrative, readers are invited to walk beside Einstein, to marvel at the beauty he found in the workings of nature, to endure the heartbreaks that shaped his character, and to appreciate the humility and humor with which he bore his fame. Above all, this book offers a testament to the power of never ceasing to question both oneself and the world. As we unravel Einstein's universe, we find reflections of our own, the yearning for understanding, the resilience against adversity, and the abiding wonder at the infinite tapestry of existence. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button to support the channel. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an audiobook that could change your life. Now, let's begin. Enjoy. Chapter 1. Austrian begins. The early years of Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein's journey into the folds of history began in the unassuming provincial town of Ulm, in the kingdom of Württemberg, within the German Empire, on March 14, 1879. At that time, Ulm was a city defined by medieval spires and the rhythmic pulse of manufacturing, a fitting birthplace for a boy whose curiosity would someday transcend the boundaries of man-made structures into the endless expanse of the cosmos. The family into which Albert was born exemplified a blend of pragmatism and sensitivity. His father, Hermann Einstein, managed an electrical engineering business, one of many burgeoning in the industrial ferment of late 19th century Germany. Pauline Koch, Albert's mother, cultivated an atmosphere of music and aesthetic sophistication within their modest home. Music, notably, would be a vital presence throughout Einstein's life, a sanctuary of order and subtlety that often soothed him amidst both personal and professional turmoil. Albert's early years unfolded in a household marked by intellectual curiosity, but also economic instability. Hermann's business ventures faced frequent difficulties, sometimes casting a shadow of uncertainty upon the family. Nevertheless, both parents fostered in their son a profound respect for knowledge and a fascination with the mysteries of nature. Pauline recognized her son's quiet intensity, marveling at the depth of his attention to even the smallest details: a spinning top, the way light filtered through glass, the precise notes of a violin. In many ways, Albert Einstein's childhood was defined by a tension between the expected and the extraordinary. The young boy was slow to speak by common reckoning. Rumors swirled among relatives that he might be developmentally delayed. Yet, as is often the case with gifted children, his interior world was alive with questions beyond his years. Observers remember him as a child who preferred silent observation to boisterous play, who pondered long before he spoke. A formative moment came when Albert was 5 years old and confined to bed by illness. To amuse his convalescent son, Hermann gifted him a simple pocket compass. Einstein later described this as a revelation, his first profound encounter with an unseen force shaping the behavior of the physical world. If the needle always pointed north, regardless of how he twisted the compass, there must be hidden laws governing such phenomena, independent of human will. This fleeting moment ignited a lifelong spark, a relentless pursuit of the unseeable, the laws and truths lying beneath the visible surface of things. The Einsteins moved frequently in pursuit of better prospects, settling in Munich by 1880. There, Hermann and his brother Jacob established a factory producing electrical equipment. The family life was comfortable, but beset by business anxieties. Albert was enrolled in the Catholic elementary school, despite being Jewish by heritage, a testament both to the family's assimilationist ambitions and to the relatively tolerant atmosphere of Munich at the time. His earliest experiences in formal education brought both inspiration and frustration. The rigid, authoritarian structures of German schooling clashed sharply with Albert's innate independence. He excelled in mathematics and showed a talent for self-directed study, often surprising teachers with insights gleaned from books far beyond the curriculum. But his disinterest in rote memorization and uncritical obedience soon earned him the reputation of being rebellious and inattentive. These formative rebellions, quiet but unyielding, foreshadowed Einstein's later boundary-pushing contributions to science. The young Einstein found solace in music and solitude, often retreating into the world of numbers and notes rather than the company of classmates. He developed a passion for the violin under his mother's tutelage, and, as he grew, found in music a metaphor for the deep structures underlying reality itself. "If I were not a physicist, I would probably be a musician," he would later reflect. "I often think in music." But this tranquil intellectual haven was not to last. As the family faced sharper economic woes, young Albert watched his parents grapple with disappointment and uncertainty. In 1894, tragedy struck with the business's failure, compelling Hermann and Pauline to move to Milan, Italy, leaving Albert behind in Munich to finish his schooling. This period was a crucible for the young man, an experience of abandonment, resilience, and self-discovery. While still a teenager, grappling with isolation, cultural upheaval, and his own intellectual restlessness, Einstein laid the earliest bricks of a worldview that would one day change humanity's understanding of the universe. The experiences, inspirations, and challenges of these Austrian and later Bavarian beginnings would remain woven through the fabric of his life, a testament to both the vulnerability and the infinite possibility inherent in each human story. Chapter 2. Waves of Curiosity, Childhood Discovery and Wonder. Throughout his early childhood and adolescence, Albert Einstein's world was a ceaseless confluence of question and wonder, a period marked by curiosity of extraordinary depth, at once both a comfort and a source of conflict with the world around him. From the earliest days of his schooling in Munich's Catholic elementary school, Albert's thirst for knowledge set him apart. While many children his age responded to the rigid structure of 19th century education with resignation or rebellion, Albert's response was more nuanced. He developed a silent defiance, refusing to accept information at face value. Teachers saw him as inattentive, but in truth, his mind was leaping far beyond the lesson plans, grappling with mysteries yet unaddressed. His affinity for mathematics emerged early. Numbers, equations, and geometric forms seemed to offer a sanctuary of logic and beauty, unclouded by the arbitrary demands of authority. Stunned by his facility with complex ideas, his uncle Jacob, a self-taught engineer, became a pivotal figure, introducing Albert to the enchanting world of mathematics and scientific inquiry. Through shared puzzles and problems, teacher and protege explored the possibilities hidden in arithmetic, algebra, and geometry. These informal lessons provided young Einstein with a model of learning that prized curiosity and deduction over rote memorization, a model he would embrace for life. Yet, Albert's inquisitiveness was not limited to abstract concepts. The natural world captivated him. He embarked on long walks by the Isar River, observing the patterns of leaves fluttering in the wind, or the play of light on water. He delighted in conducting home experiments, sometimes with reckless abandon disassembling watches, testing chemical reactions with his friend Max Talmud, and recording the outcomes in meticulous notes. Each failed or messy attempt was not a disappointment, but a lesson, a step closer to understanding the hidden rules of nature. Further wonder arrived each Friday evening. Einstein's family, though not devout, partook in customs and gathering with their Jewish heritage. These gatherings introduced him to literature, philosophy, and spiritual debate, a forum that instilled in him a respect for rigorous questioning and debate, essential nutrients for an inquiring mind. While his family life nurtured curiosity, Albert's time at school grew increasingly contentious. The pedagogy of the late 19th century prized discipline and regimentation. Teachers rarely tolerated deviation from the prescribed curriculum. Yet Einstein, emboldened by his own observations and bolstered by the support of his uncle, often challenged his instructors, posing probing questions and proposing alternative solutions. His reluctance to obey for obedience's sake branded him troublesome, a reputation that would shadow his school years. Crucial in these years was Max Talmud, a young medical student who became a kind of older brother and intellectual mentor to Albert. Talmud introduced him to Kant's critique of pure reason, popular science books, and the philosophical writings that defied easy answers. Talmud's encouragement reinforced the notion that learning was a personal, passionate pursuit, not a mere obligation. With each philosophical text or scientific essay, Albert's mind expanded, forging the conditions for the conceptual leaps he would later make in adulthood. But childhood wonder was also shadowed by solitude. Einstein, often isolated from his peers due to his unusual interests and demeanor, turned even more inward. His violin became his closest companion, allowing him to express feelings that words could not. The music's structure and emotional richness paralleled the orderly yet mysterious nature of mathematics, a link that would prove enduring in his thought processes. As the years wore on, familial turbulence increased. The failure of the family business and his parents' move to Milan without him forced Albert to confront loneliness and uncertainty. Left at a boarding house, expected to conform in a school system that saw little value in independent minds, he became despondent and anxious. Yet somehow, adversity only deepened his resolve. In moments of darkness, Albert's curiosity was a light pulling him from despair towards discovery. Ultimately, these waves of curiosity were transformative. Crystallizing early in childhood, they defined every dimension of Einstein's later life. They taught him to value the process of questioning as much as the answers, sought to trust the evidence of his senses, while remaining open to vistas beyond immediate perception. Through persistent wonder, the boy from Ulm, Munich, learned to see the world as an endless puzzle, inviting all of us to piece together its mysteries with imagination and courage. Chapter 3: Against the Grain: Schooling and Intellectual Defiance. Albert Einstein's path through formal education was fraught from the beginning. The very traits that set his mind alight, skepticism, creativity, a thirst for connection, placed him at odds with the dominant educational currents of his time. Growing up in late 19th century Germany, Einstein endured a system designed less to cultivate curiosity than to instill conformity. The gymnasium, a secondary school attended primarily by the sons of the bourgeoisie, operated on unyielding schedules, rigorous memorization, and an emphasis on order above all else. Students quoted Latin verses, solved mechanical equations, and recited historical facts, rarely encouraged to ask why things were as they were. For Albert, this rigid milieu was stifling. Though gifted in mathematics and the natural sciences, he found little joy in the rest of the curriculum. Greek, Latin, the classics, these languished, half absorbed, in the shadow of his passion for numbers. His teachers, recognizing his indifference, labeled him insolent. One famously told him, "You'll never amount to anything." Such rebukes did little to suppress his burgeoning intellectual independence. If anything, they confirmed his belief that the cultivation of individuality required a degree of rebellion. During this period, Einstein refined his skills in self-directed study. Snubbing rote memorization, he devoured advanced mathematics texts, often mastering subjects years ahead of his classmates. At home, he constructed intricate models, diagrammed machines, and lost himself in theoretical puzzles. The school's doors opened to his body, but his mind roamed free, seeking knowledge beyond the bounds of prescribed lessons. Around age 15, mounting personal and academic pressures came to a head. The failure of his father's business and his family's sudden move to Italy left Einstein vulnerable and untethered. Fearing both academic expulsion and emotional collapse, he withdrew from the gymnasium. This act of defiance, born of desperation but guided by principle, set him on a new, uncertain path. Without the constraints of the classroom, Einstein blossomed. Milan, with its libraries and museums, became a new laboratory for his explorations. He audited classes at the Polytechnic in Zurich, read physics and mathematics treatises, and contributed to debates in local cafes. Here he rediscovered the pleasure of pure inquiry, learning for its own sake, without fear of censure or rebuke. The next crucial step was his application to the Swiss Federal Polytechnic, later ETH Zurich. His first attempt ended in humiliation. He failed the entrance exams language, botany, and zoology sections, though he excelled in mathematics and science. Yet the setback did not deter him. Instead, it sharpened his sense of purpose. He spent a year in Aarau at a progressive Swiss school, finding at last an environment that nurtured independent thought, creativity, and egalitarian values. At Aarau, Einstein flourished as never before. The school's liberal ethos, where students debated teachers as equals, provided a model for what education could be. Here, Einstein sketched some of his first thought experiments, pondering what it would be like to ride alongside a beam of light. These ideas, half-formed, would become the seeds of his future breakthroughs. Graduating from Aarau, he was finally admitted to the Polytechnic. In Zurich, he encountered a cosmopolitan array of thinkers, scientists, and artists. It was here that he forged deep, lasting friendships, and where he met Mileva Marie, a brilliant Serbian mathematician who would become both collaborator and wife. Einstein's years at the Polytechnic were marked by both struggle and triumph. Administrative indifference, the stubbornness of certain faculty, and his own contrarian streak meant he did not always shine in the eyes of his professors. In fact, upon graduation, he was the only member of his class not offered a teaching position, testament to both academic politics and his own reluctance to conform. Yet, despite or perhaps because of these setbacks, Einstein's intellectual defiance matured into a kind of creative freedom. In Zurich, he laid the groundwork for his first major scientific papers, unconstrained by expectations, driven by pure curiosity. Every challenge and rebuke only reinforced his determination. Reflecting on these turbulent educational years, one finds not just the biography of a genius, but the universal struggles of any young person testing the boundaries of custom and expectation. Einstein's early battles against authority forged the resilience and self-trust that would carry him through later gauntlets, scientific, political, and personal. His defiance was not mere rebellion, but an assertion of faith that truth, beauty, and creativity must in the end be liberated from the chains of convention. Chapter 4. Fledgling Foundations: Love, Loss, and Formative Struggles. Albert Einstein's transition into adulthood was marked by a complex interplay of love, heartbreak, friendship, and formative struggle, each shaping the contours of his intellect and character. Arriving in Zurich as an undergraduate at the Swiss Federal Polytechnic, Albert found himself liberated from the suppressions of his Munich schooling. The city thrived on tolerance, cosmopolitanism, and a spirit of inquiry, providing fertile ground for the kind of intellectual ferment that would fuel his breakthroughs. It was here he would meet those who would fundamentally shape his personal and professional life. Foremost among them was Mileva Marie, a fellow physics student from Serbia. Unusual among women of her era, Marie possessed a formidable intellect and an unwavering commitment to the study of mathematics and science. Their friendship kindled quickly, deepening into a passionate love affair. Over shared lectures and private study sessions, the two debated problems in thermodynamics, mathematics, and electromagnetic theory, each challenging and sharpening the other's ideas. Their relationship was a crucible, at once a source of solace and strain for the young Einstein. The world in which he and Mileva fell in love was not ready for a partnership between intellectual equals, even less so for one straddling social and ethnic divides. Family opposition, academic pressures, and persistent poverty all imposed formidable obstacles on the young couple. Yet, despite the turbulence, the intellectual symbiosis with Mileva became a wellspring of creativity for Einstein, especially during his early, most productive years. Financial precarity haunted these years. Upon graduation, Einstein struggled to secure a teaching job, his unconventional manner and uneasy relationships with professors having left him with scant recommendations. Humiliated and at times dispirited, he drifted through a series of low-paying, short-term positions. At one stage, he even considered retraining as an electrical technician. Meanwhile, Mileva's academic progress also stalled, beset by institutional sexism and her own mounting anxieties. Amidst these hardships, the couple endured another, more private heartbreak. In 1902, Mileva gave birth in secret to a daughter, Liesel, in her home village in Serbia. The fate of the child remains a mystery to this day, likely given up for adoption or lost to illness in infancy. The grief and secrecy surrounding Liesel would cast a long shadow over their early married life, a lingering ache at the heart of their partnership. Despite personal and professional setbacks, Einstein maintained his commitment to science. In 1902, he secured a position at the Swiss Patent Office in Bern. While hardly the path he dreamed of, the job afforded him a stable income and, crucially, enough free time to continue his own research. As a technical expert, he scrutinized patent applications by day, learning to distill complex ideas into clear, concise language a skill that would serve his scientific writing for years to come. Bern became a haven for intellectual camaraderie, as Einstein and a select group of friends, Maurice Solovin and Konrad Habicht, among them, formed the Olympia Academy. In these informal, often raucous meetings, they explored the latest works in philosophy and science. Einstein relished these debates, which ranged from Hume's empiricism to Mach's critiques of contemporary physics. It was this sense of collective inquiry, humorous, relentless, exultant, that kept his mind alive, fueling ideas that would soon revolutionize the world. Though financial, familial, and existential stresses pressed relentlessly on Einstein and Mileva, they married in 1903. The union was at once a declaration of mutual support and a catalyst for further pressures. The strains of parenthood, the collapse of Mileva's academic ambitions, and the demands Einstein placed on his own work. Yet from these crucibles emerged resilience. The loss, love, and struggle of Einstein's young adulthood honed not only his intellect, but his empathy, nurturing a gentleness and humility that would mark his later relationships with students, friends, and adversaries alike. These fledgling foundations, laid in Zurich and Bern of affection, despair, community, and intellectual daring, would set the stage for the astonishing creative flourishing that followed. In adversity, Einstein grew attuned not only to the workings of nature, but to the hopes and heartaches of those around him. This empathy would remain a touchstone throughout his life, guiding his science and shaping his advocacy for peace, justice, and the sanctity of the individual. Chapter 5: Equations of Revolution, the Miracle Years and Special Relativity. The year was 1905, and in the cramped apartment on Kramgasse in Bern, with the odor of oil lamps lingering, Albert Einstein was about to thrust the universe into a new era. He was just 26 and still employed at the Swiss Patent Office, a job he would later describe as a worldly cloister. Working by day, Einstein spent his evenings and weekends in feverish pursuit of the questions that gnawed at his soul. What, truly, was the nature of reality? How did time and space fit together in the great machinery of existence? To look at Einstein then was to see an unassuming civil servant shuttling official documents from one department to another. But inside, he nurtured flashes of insight that had accumulated over years of pondering the deepest mysteries, from light quanta to the eccentricities of moving clocks. His days at the patent office saw him reviewing technical sketches, yet his mind wandered through realms of abstraction where almost no one else dared follow. That year, later known as Einstein's Annus Mirabilis, or Miracle Year, he published 4 groundbreaking papers in the scientific journal Annalen der Physik, each of which would shake the pillars of physics and challenge the most hallowed precepts of reality. The first was on the photoelectric effect, a phenomenon wherein light, striking a metal surface, liberates electrons in a way that classical wave theory could not predict. Boldly, Einstein suggested that light behaved not only as a wave, but also as discrete packets, or quanta, of energy. This hypothesis laid the foundation for quantum mechanics, earning him the Nobel Prize in 1921. But the paper most emblematic of Einstein's revolution was titled On the Electrodynamics of Moving Bodies. In it, he dismantled assumptions about absolute space and absolute time, proposing instead that the laws of physics and the speed of light must be the same for all inertial observers. No longer could time and space be treated as immutable backdrops. They became dynamic, interwoven aspects of a single fabric, space-time. The results were exhilarating and profoundly unsettling. Simultaneity would depend on the observer's frame of reference, and time itself could lengthen or contract, depending on speed, a phenomenon soon to be known as time dilation. What drove Einstein to such radical ideas? It was neither pride nor hubris, but a relentless sense of curiosity and a refusal to accept unexplained contradictions. He was spurred on by his friends in the self-styled Olympia Academy, an informal group that met to read and discuss the works of philosophers and scientists. Here, he found not only intellectual companionship, but encouragement to challenge orthodoxy and trust his own intuitions. The miracle year forever altered the intellectual map of the 20th century. Yet, it was also a time of quiet struggles. Einstein was no longer a novice, but he was not yet celebrated. Publishers hesitated, established academics viewed him with suspicion. He toiled in obscurity, often doubting his talents, and wondering if recognition would ever come. At home, family life was fraught, and the emotional burdens of his marriage weighed heavily on his mind. Yet the equations of revolution that Einstein set forth in 1905 continue to shape our understanding of the cosmos. They remind us that genius is not the exclusive province of those with large laboratories or institutional backing, but can germinate wherever wonder and perseverance are cherished. For Einstein, revolution was not a matter of ego, but a duty to truth, no matter the cost. Chapter 6: Relativity and Recognition. A scientist on the world stage. Recognition did not come easily to Albert Einstein. For years after his revolutionary papers, he toiled in semi-obscurity, his ideas dismissed or reluctantly acknowledged by the scientific establishment. Yet the universe, guided by his vision, would not be ignored. After the 1905 papers, Einstein's persistent efforts to refine and extend his theories led to a new formulation, the general theory of relativity, published in 1915. Where special relativity had united space and time and shown the constancy of the speed of light, general relativity posed even deeper mysteries. It transformed gravity from a mere force into a manifestation of space-time curvature. It was a theory, not just of the heavens, but of the cosmic ballet itself. But science does not unfold in seclusion. Einstein's private struggles mirrored his public journey. At home, relationships were strained. His tireless quest for truth left little time for familial harmony. Yet, amid this turbulence, he pressed forward, exhibiting a poignant vulnerability that made his subsequent triumphs all the more affecting. In 1919, as the guns of the Great War fell silent, the world's attention shifted, at least for a moment, from destruction to discovery. That year, British astronomer Arthur Eddington led an expedition to observe the bending of starlight during a total solar eclipse, an experiment designed to test Einstein's predictions. When the results matched Einstein's calculations, the news rocketed across continents, vaulting a gentle Swiss-German physicist, formerly isolated and ridiculed, onto the front pages of newspapers worldwide. Suddenly, Einstein was not simply a scientist. He was a celebrity, an icon whose opinions were sought on everything from the nature of God to the politics of peace. Invitations flooded in. Honors accumulated. Yet the adulation weighed heavily. Einstein, with his characteristic humility and private doubts, sometimes felt like a stranger in his own fame. He responded in the only way he knew, with honesty, wit, and a continued dedication to science. He traveled tirelessly, meeting with other thinkers, speaking out for free inquiry and human dignity, and hammering at the frontiers of knowledge. He corresponded with some of the greatest minds of his time, but also with teachers, students, and everyday people who saw in him a beacon of hope and insight. The cost of prominence, however, was steep. As anti-Semitic sentiment rose in Germany and Europe fractured once again, Einstein's visibility made him a target. Despite threats, he maintained a rare empathy, championing causes far beyond the confines of physics. Thus, Einstein's recognition was not merely scientific, but profoundly human. He became a figure who symbolized not only intellectual daring, but moral courage, someone who understood that true greatness lies in service to both knowledge and kindness. The world stage had found a new kind of hero, one marked by curiosity, humility, and compassion. Chapter 7: Shadows of War, Exile, Ethics, and Einstein's Advocacy. As the world stumbled toward catastrophe in the 1930s, Albert Einstein confronted a darkening horizon. The rise of Nazism and the gathering storm clouds of World War II forced Einstein, a Jew and outspoken pacifist, to contemplate both personal exile and the ethical responsibilities of the scientist. In Germany, Einstein's life became increasingly precarious. His outspoken views on Jewish identity, pacifism, and international cooperation made him a lightning rod for hatred. Nazi propaganda vilified his Jewish physics, while friends and colleagues fell silent or disappeared. In 1933, realizing he was marked for death, Einstein left Germany for the United States. It was not an easy departure. He grieved for the ravaged ideals of his homeland and the millions at risk. At Princeton, he found a haven of modest comfort, a small house, a garden, a circle of friends who understood his alienation. Yet isolation never dulled his sense of duty. As the world spiraled toward global conflict, Einstein used his voice and fame to call for peace, denounce racism, and urge solidarity among nations. The pain of exile haunted him, yet he refused to be broken by it. The darkest dilemma arose in 1939. New scientific discoveries suggested that uranium, when split, could unleash unimaginable destructive power. Fearing that Nazi Germany might harness this force first, Einstein, together with physicist Leo Szilard, drafted a letter to President Franklin Roosevelt, warning of the threat and urging American research. Though he had dedicated his life to pacifism, Einstein's conscience would not permit him to risk the triumph of tyranny. The subsequent development of the atomic bomb weighed mercilessly on his soul. Einstein's fame became a double-edged sword. He was celebrated as the father of modern physics, but he was also haunted by the application of his insights to the most devastating weapon in history. In the war's aftermath, he spoke out forcefully against nuclear proliferation, calling for arms control, world government, and the preservation of human dignity. Yet Einstein's advocacy was never confined to politics or science alone. He championed civil rights, decried segregation, and corresponded with leaders of the burgeoning civil rights movement in the United States. His empathy was not abstract, it was urgent and personal. He understood, perhaps more than most, the wounds inflicted by prejudice and the suffering of the exiled. Through these shadows, Einstein's ethical vision shone brightest. Scarred by exile, burdened by the consequences of scientific progress, he never abandoned hope or the belief in human goodness. He reminded the world that knowledge, without compassion, is perilously incomplete, and that even in the darkest hours, a solitary voice raised for justice can illuminate the way forward. Chapter 8: Legacies of Light, the Enduring Wisdom of Albert Einstein. Decades after Albert Einstein's passing, his shadow, benign, curious, and anxious for justice, looms large across the world. The theories he forged in moments of solitude now pulsate at the heart of every smartphone, satellite, and particle accelerator. But if Einstein's contribution were only technical, his name would not command such enduring reverence. Einstein's legacy is a tapestry woven from scientific audacity, ethical courage, and an insistence on the joy of wonder. His insights into space-time, gravitation, and the quantum world revolutionized not only how physicists passed the universe, but how humankind understood its place within it. Today, every GPS device quietly corrects for the warping of time Einstein predicted. Every conversation about black holes, gravitational waves, or cosmic origins invokes his logic and symbolism. Yet perhaps his brighter gift is the wisdom he modeled for everyday life. Einstein's humility was as vital as his genius. He nurtured an abiding skepticism of authority, urging others to think for themselves and to cherish doubt as a spur to learning. His letters are filled with warmth and laughter, revealing a man who could lampoon his own foibles and marvel at the absurdities of existence. He was also a man unafraid to speak out, drawing strength from his own hardships to advocate for the downtrodden. Opposed to dogma and unyielding in his commitment to the rights of all people, he never stopped believing in the possibility of progress so long as it was guided by empathy. He advised, "Try not to become a man of success, but rather try to become a man of value." As we gaze into the cosmos today, sending probes past distant planets and peering into the birth of galaxies, it is Einstein's spirit we echo, curious, hopeful, and profoundly human. His life insists that the mysteries of the universe are not only to be unraveled by calculation, but to be experienced with awe and shared generously. Einstein's legacies of light are thus reminders for all ages to wonder, to question, to serve, to trust in the quiet revolutions we pursue in small rooms and at lonely desks, and to carry onward the light of human dignity. Each of us, he believed, is a piece of the cosmic puzzle, a testament to the extraordinary potential within us all. In following his path, we shape a future as bright and mysterious as the stars themselves. If you found this video helpful, inspiring, or entertaining, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on future content. Your support means the world. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.